can never tell, which I'm pretty sure that's basically how all of my streams start, is just me saying I can never tell if it's actually started streaming or not. Not until Twitch updates, which it looks like it is. Hooray! An ad! Which means that my video is at least going. So, hello everyone, this is Chris again. Today is September 8th, so it is the September 8th TextQuest Dev stream. Today we're going to be doing three things. Well, I'm going to show you two things, and I'm going to do a third. So we're going to start with taking a look at how progress in the opening level is going, because I've been adding slowly a new section to that first level to make it a little more interesting. Second, we're going to work a little bit more on the custom importing stuff so that people can bring in their own textures and models and all of that. And the last thing is I'm going to show you the updated art pipeline, which has changed yet again, with good reason, and with some benefits to it, just adding a couple of extra steps. But we'll get into that when we actually get there. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll just start playing in the first level. All right. So I don't have a light map built, so it's tough to see things in the shadow. I'll move to a more well-lit area. But yeah, I do actually have the first hallway UV'd now, so we have nice UVs. You can actually see everything. Everything's in place. We have nice substance materials on everything, so which is hard to see without a light map. You can sort of see it here. So we've got some nice new substance stuff that's actually been updated and is using OpenGL normal maps instead of DirectX, because DirectX only works on Windows, not on Mac or OpenGL systems. So here in the light, you can actually see some of the stuff. We get some nice sort of smoothness on the tiles, and then the actual text is much rougher. And you can sort of see that. We'll get a better view of this later. And you can see that the throne room is partially UV'd. The floor, carpet, and part of the ceiling is. But I still have to do the giant fresco, which is going to be just so much fun, I'm sure. Well, there are a couple of ways I could do that. I could either try to be incredibly detailed, or I could just be lazy and say fresco. I don't know, whichever would be more interesting. I have, it's hard to see because they don't have textures applied to it. I have changed the spacing on these stairs. Before they were spaced to be about basically square, so they'd go up like 0.2 and then go in 0.2, and that doesn't actually work with movement. It's very awkward. Steps aren't actually perfect squares. They're actually a little more like rectangles where they have deeper steps, or there are deeper steps than they are tall. So this is 0.2 high and like 0.4 in or something like that. Minor change, but it makes climbing up these two steps very, very smooth. And can't really show that off because it's not light mapped. That's awkward. Oh, it's probably because this doesn't have a. Really? Oh, it's. Huh. Oh, that's right, because I changed this stuff. So I got to update the mesh colliders, which is fine. I'm still working on the model itself. The walls don't have a collider on them right now. I was wondering why I was dipping there. Updated most of the stuff in here too. I might be able to see a little bit more while we'll go. I'm working on the doors. They're still the old doors, and can't see because it's not light mapped. But the shelf has been updated as well with the new substance. So this is the new wall, which I think we might have had before, but it's actually been changed with these are all the substances have been updated with the new pipeline, which is SVG based rather than raster based, and I'll talk about that when we actually get there. Got a nice new stone block substance here, and you'll actually notice the new pipeline does not have those. Well, you might not notice because it was very tiny, but the old art pipeline had sort of these sparkling white dots that would flicker across materials, and I don't know what caused those. It was some weird thing with substance, but the new art pipeline actually gets rid of those. I'm not entirely sure why. I have a couple of guesses, and I'll talk about that when I actually um, get get to talking about the pipeline. But yeah, so for now, that's where everything is. Doing a lot of UV textures or UV layouts and all that. Finishing up the actual model. You can see, man, everything's in shadow, so it's hard to see all the light maps without baking a light map. Um, but you can see that we have possibly get a good view. Well, I guess I could always just stop and show you the. I don't know why I insisted on showing it in game. Well, yeah, because I like showing you guys the way it'll look from the player's view. Um, so we actually have this. It's this is the new wall texture, and I can. I don't know. Gotta hold off. I gotta stay structured. Um, and we'll talk about more that stuff more as we get to the new pipeline, and I'll show you why I've changed a little bit over to it. Okay, so that's where we are now for the intro area. So now I'm going to switch over to the texture loading thing. So last time we left off, we had created a height slider, which is what we have now. I've messed around with it a little bit more, and we're going to add a couple of more features today. This is going to be sort of, I think, the dev project, I guess, just to have some nice long-term thing to work on. That's not incredibly ridiculous and will affect the community. So, because the problem with modeling or doing modeling for these things is modeling is very long and tedious and boring for people to watch. But this is way more interesting, and you all get to see me do my little programming dance and try to figure things out as they crop up. So if we play, you can see that we have right. I still have not figured out the weird shader or the weird material problem where it doesn't update unless I actually open it in the editor. I'm looking into that right now, but for the time being, it just needs to actually be tweaked a bit. So the slider has been updated a little bit. It's a little nicer shaped. It's not that awkward sort of stretched rectangle that it used to be. And I've also added a value label to let people more clearly understand what they're tweaking and what the value is. And these default values, it seems weird to go from like 0.005 to 0.08. That's the values that Unity limits it to. So I've tried to match the sliders to what the built-in shader for Unity does. But yeah, like last time where we left off, you can see that it actually tweaks the height value for these things, which is pretty cool. And we're going to add a couple of more things today. We're going to actually change. So right now, the textures and all that are being imported through this sort of default texture load map or texture load script, and it was just a quick throw together to try and get things going. So we're going to port the bulk of this functionality over today. Shouldn't take too long, actually. So we're going to get through the actual UI. We're going to be getting the path to the texture and the height map and all of that, and letting the player actually input that stuff and update it at real time. So let's start. Let's go all the way down because I love being very organized. This is all. This is now actually organized into a layout list, or a grid basically. So as I add more options, like if I duplicate this, it'll automatically add and lay it out so that it's in the correct position. So now if I want to just change this to, well, let me see what we got. Metallic and smoothness, that's something we need to do. So let's just call this metallic. Change the value from height to metallic. Change size to 26. And I'm going to have to tweak these values until I get a nice consistent size, because I don't like having labels with different values, but that's my own personal OCD. So that means these need to go down to 26. And metallic, I made a new component script that derives from the built-in UGUI text object. So this allows me to specify a slider for it to listen to, metallic slider, and this one will actually have a min value of 0 to a max value of 1, and its min value will be 0 to start. And this new slider value label basically just looks at a label, or looks at a slider and says, okay, what's its value right now, and whenever the value changes, it automatically updates itself. Wasn't that bad. It was like a 20 line script thing. And you can also change how many decimals you want it to display. So right now, by default, it goes to 2, I think, and that's probably pretty good for what we want. So if I were to just play, this isn't going to update anything, but we'll be able to actually see it. You can see that it goes to 2 decimals because that's what I set it to be. That's pretty good for metallic and all that. Height needs to have 3 because, otherwise you'd only be changing the hundredths place and you wouldn't really see much, which might be okay. I honestly will have to wait until I get all of these sliders in there so that you can see what they all look like together. I'll probably try to make them all have the same number of characters. So I may end up clamping height to only edit the hundredths, not the thousandth place. But for now. But yeah, that's what that script does. It's just a nice little component script that helps out with this sort of thing. So that's in there. I don't need to worry about that. And we'll go ahead and add a smoothness one too. Smooth slider. And oh, that's a weird label. I need to change that. Smooth value. It, like metallic, can probably be 2, and that's just fine. Let's change these because they aren't sliders, so I don't know why I called them that. It was probably just because I was not paying attention. So metallic value, and this can just be height value. Good. All right. So that. Right. What are the other things we need to have? That open. Cube. Let's look at our material. So probably want to have a color, which probably won't do that tonight because I'll have to make a color picker, which I've made in the past, but I've forgotten how I've done it. Made that a long time ago for a different project. So we have normal maps, height maps. We got all that already. So actually, let's just see what this is doing. So we'll need a texture, normal, and a height path. Okay. So let's duplicate this. And this one I'm not going to duplicate 3 times, so we're going to call this texture. And this one probably should actually go at the top. We'll call this... Oh, actually, you know what? Ooh. Get rid of this. Create a input. And I don't need this label at all, actually. Okay. So now we're going to stretch this out, and it needs to actually go to 0.35, I think. Ooh, no. 3 then. Yeah. Really? Oh yeah, okay. And that, let's see, please. Let's change this to 24. Of course, 24 is too big. 16, 18, nope, 18. Okay, do 20. Okay, 22. I can do 22. Whatever. And actually, that's probably fine. I think. And we'll wrap. There is no need to worry about that. Let's change this character limit. Don't need to worry about that. Line type, it is going to be single line. Content type, standard, I guess, because it could be file names and it's going to be very strange sometimes, I'm sure. Yeah, all this should be fine. So, just to see if it looks fine when I'm actually messing around with it, let me test. See, the input stuff is really weird. Just because you can, if you notice, the caret is really low, and I don't know why it does that. It's really annoying. It should be, it's like everything's off. I don't know if that's because it's using the center point for the text or what, but it's annoying. Um, and I looked into that before, but I haven't had time to actually get into it and try and fix it very well. But for now, also let me change this to texture. That probably needs to be texture path, which means that this is going to get nerfed to like 16. Well, 18. Ah, great, 16. Ah, it's gross. I don't like having it be that small. Ugh. Yeah. Oh well. Let me see. I'm also gonna probably. Nope, I'm not, because that will get rid of that. Well, one more thing. I apologize that I'm just sort of tweaking values, but it's kind of to get it to look right, which probably isn't actually that important right now. But man, that is brutal. All right, that's fine. So let me change placeholder to enter texture path. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm going to have is a button. That's just going to be called up. Ooh, right. Don't want to be lazy. Yes, I do. Change that. Change this. This is all tiny stuff, but layout element. Preferred height is 40. There we go. Change the text to 24. Change it to be update. Might as well call it update textures. And we will call this the update button. Alright. So now, the basic idea is going to be update. Basic idea is going to be that you can tweak all of these values and then hit update. Well, I guess the update stuff really shouldn't. You'll hit update whenever you change the texture path information, but I don't think you're not going to want to do that for height, metallic, and smoothness. Just because you want that stuff to happen in real time. So, if that's the case, then I probably should move it up towards the top, but for now, we'll just duplicate this, move it up here, duplicate that, move it up here again. So this is going to be normal and height maps. And also need to change these to texture input. That's good. Normal input. Oops. That's fine. And height. Yes. Right. Input. Okay. So all that stuff's in there. And, oh, man, I guess I should call this path too. Call these paths too for consistency's sake. Okay. So all that's in there. And yeah, I need to change this so it's normal path and, oh man. I want to say height map, but it's going to do that. I hate double-lined crap. I'm just going to call it height path for now. So all that's in there. I should keep that open, actually. Okay, so let me change texture edit to view script. Drag that over here. Alright, So a couple of new sliders. We'll call these public slider, metallic slider. We'll get to these later. Public slider, smooth slider. And let's see. Then there was public input field. And that was texture path input. I'm just going to copy this, paste it 3 times or twice. Normal path and height path input. All right. Oh, and of course we want a public button and update button. Okay. So now we're going to want a private void on update clicked. Oops, not ping. That always shows up whenever I type too fast. There we go. So update button dot on click dot add listener on update clicked. So now we have it listening for the update button being clicked, and whenever that happens, I'm going to close some of this crap because not that. Yeah, we don't need this stuff. And that's probably fine for now. Here we go. I think yes, so I'm going to need these. Move these over here, and for now I'll just keep them here actually, but I will move them over here. Probably actually, I think I can make these constants. Private const string normal prop that private const string and height prop equals that. Although, actually, probably need to rename these to normal map and all that, just because there's a height property that's not a map. These are the actual textures. So with that, I can actually get rid of you. And then private const string. This would be, I guess. No, this is height prop equals. That's going to be parallax. So now instead of having parallax there, I can just say height prop. So that way I only have to change it in one place if it ever changes or updates. So that's pretty nice. Now, we're basically going to just copy this. And put this in on update clicked. Except I'm going to need system.io, won't I? Joy. Okay. And okay, right. So how do I want to do this? I could be lazy and have a get set, or have a getter that just gets the string value of the input field for the texture, normal, and height maps. Or I could actually get them directly here. That probably is not the optimal way of doing things. I suppose, actually, Well, for now. For now, we're going to do something that I'm probably going to end up changing later, but this will just be a quick and dirty sort of way to do it. Private string texture path get return texture path input dot value, I think. Is it just text? Okay. And let's really hope this will be interesting because I'm might have the same problem that I have with TextQuest right now, where it cuts off the value of the actual text. So if the text is longer than the input field, it for some reason cuts it off, which is problematic. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it twice, and we'll just call this normal and height. So normal path input and then height path input. Change this to texture path. That would be my cat wanting attention. And normal path. Followed by height path. Oop. Ah, right. Hold on. Yeah, that was almost bad. So this should actually be normal prop, I think. No, normal map prop, sorry. Normal map prop, because these are the, yeah, and height map prop. Okay, so those are there. So let's test that out. Let's go back here. Oh yeah, we haven't been back here in a while, so it's going to do a massive import and update. Okay, good. It's all there. So change this. That's good. Change you. That's good. Change you. That's good. That's fine. I'm also going to move the metallic and smooth. So metallic. Oh, right. Metallic slider and smooth slider. And I'm actually working on a class to sort of wrap these individual components. That way I won't have references to, say, the texture path input. It'll just be a list of string inputs, basically, then a list of slider inputs and all that, and it'll just automatically detect things. So I won't have to have this massive inspector. Well, it's not massive now, but in the future it potentially could be. Because these are just the basics, and I'm sure in the future, if I want to add support for, like, substances or something, that could just get crazy. So I might not go that far, though. So now if I just turn this off. Although I am also not going to maximize on play so that I can cheat and see what my path was for all of the other stuff. Okay, so nothing's changed, which is good. So we want stonewall.png for the texture path, and if I update, yay! It's good, that's good, that's good. And then stonewall underscore normal.png. I can't really tell, but I'm going to assume that it did. It did. Good, good. So we still have not got a height map. But if we do stonewall underscore height.png and hit update texture, boom! Although, ooh boy, it is. Oh right, that's not going to work, but the height should. This is troubling. You might notice on the side here, it's actually making multiple instances every time I update it. That I probably don't want it to do that. Which actually, yeah, that was something I was thinking about before I started here. I'm probably not going to do it tonight. Well, I'm definitely not going to do it tonight. But I think we're going to work towards basically whenever a new material is created, it'll get a name, and then it'll be sort of pushed into a library, and whenever I update a texture, it's going to look for the name of that material, and if it already exists, it's just going to replace the old material or update the old material. That way I'm not getting these chain instances of a single material. That should just basically be one material, not like 3 that it is now. Because those materials, I'm sure, are still in memory somewhere. And that would be bad. So, probably not going to worry about that now. I think we're going to get metallic and smooth set up. And then maybe try... Well, no, that'll probably be good for tonight, for the custom importer stuff. Then we'll move on to the new art pipeline. Mostly because a lot of the other stuff is going to be repetition, doing things that we've already done. But that's nice that we can just put in those values at runtime and not have to worry about it. So with that, we don't need the load texture test anymore. Still want this. And right. I will. Let's go to test. Need to look at the standard shader again. So we're updating main text. And we want, let's see. So glossiness and metallic, it looks like, are the 2 things that we're going to do. So let's go up here, copy this over, paste, call this metallic prop, and then smooth prop. This was glossiness, I think, which I did not need to make it all caps. Let me check on that with an I because I can't spell. I was wondering why it looked wrong. I'm like, eh. And then metallic was just metallic. Oops. Okay. So with that, go ahead and basically just copy this. Okay. And this is going to be on metallic, then on smooth, lowercase m, set float, metallic prop. Alright, that's not actually updating, so I can get rid of those. That was those 2 lines of disabling and enabling were me trying to force it to update. So this would be smooth prop value. Okay, good. And then I can go back down here and just say metallic slider dot on value changed dot add listener on metallic value changed, and then smooth slider dot on value changed dot add listener on smooth value changed. All right. So now if we go back here, give that a second to compile. All right. So let's go ahead and change this to be stonewall.png, not PNGG. So that's there. If I change metallic, oh nice, metallic updates. Weird. It's just something with the normals then. So metallic, it's nice. We can update it between 0 and 1. Just to be sure, I will click on the cube and we will make sure that that value is changing. Curious. Oh, wait. That's weird. So it doesn't update here, but watch. Now it does. So you can see in the scene it looks like it's changing, but on the actual material, changed when I open it. I force that to 0. Yeah, weird. Okay, so, and to show you what I mean, so I'm going to close the material. If you look over at the bottom right, you'll see the material sort of display. And that's what its value is metallic at 0. So if I change the metallic here, in the scene it changes, but it doesn't change over here, but when I open it up, suddenly it changes. So, weird. So it's actually affecting the value, similar to what the normal map thing was doing, but it's not, for some reason, it's not actually updating the value in the material itself. So I wonder, I don't know, I'm going to have to look into that. That could get weird. I assume smooth is going to behave the same. You know, smooth 0, smooth 1. I think it defaults to 0.5, which is that. I'm going to go metallic back here. And you can sort of see that. It's the way that the light is rolling off of it. So for the stones, I would probably say 0 is best. We want a rough object. I'm going to do the same thing here. See if, yep, that made it very smooth. Yeah, super weird. But yeah, you get the idea. That's just something I'm going to be messing around with. Probably going to add a little bit more each time we do a stream. That way we can all feel like we've added to it. But yeah, I'll be adding, basically trying to add as much support for the standard shader as I can. I'll be working on that materials library like I was talking about to make things more efficient, make sure that I don't overuse the or don't tax memory too much, because that's always a bad thing. You don't want to have a memory leak like that. And yeah, I think that'll be good for tonight for this thing. So now I'm going to show you the new art pipeline that I have set up. So I'll save this, and we'll go back to the castle quarters, which I should rename to be the throne room. So if I click on this, we can go back to the substance material for it. So, like I mentioned earlier, I've switched from a raster-based approach to a SVG approach, which means that instead of using pixels, rasters, I'm using vectors. So something like, so instead of using Photoshop, which I'm still sort of using, I'm using Adobe Illustrator to make SVGs of my textures. That way I can export them, and then I can actually change these resolutions in real time. So they default to 512 by 512, and I can apply these. And you can see that the wall texture gets a little blurry, which is not great. But this is what it looks like at 512 by 512. Let me move it around. So that's what it looks like at 512 by 512. Or I can bump it up to 1024 by 1024. Hit apply. You can see that it's getting a little more detailed, and I can go all the way up to 2K, which looks much better. You can see that. Now there is a weird thing that I'm trying to figure out with the vector stuff. I don't know if it's because with Photoshop I was doing pixel perfect lines. I wasn't having real soft sort of gradients, but I think that the vectors are naturally soft, so they're not hard-edged like Photoshop is, or at least I haven't found the option to do that with text in Illustrator, because I'm much newer to Illustrator than I am with Photoshop. And you can sort of see, I don't know if it's recording my mouse or not. I don't think it is. Oh no, yes it is. You can sort of see along the letters this odd sort of buffering area. And I don't know if that's because I might have my normal maps ill-aligned because of the way that Illustrator was copying things over. Again, that could be this could be any number of features, but this is definitely a sort of artifact of the new pipeline, and I'm going to be working to fix that. But the benefits of basically allowing users to specify the texture size they want to run at They can go, oh, I haven't tried 32. I want to try that just to see what it looks like. Oh, that's about right. Excuse me, I'm still recovering from a sickness. Yeah, that was pretty funny. 256 should be a little more reasonable. Yeah, it still looks like garbage, but basically this allows me to, provide this option. I can actually have an option in the options or in the graphical settings to say what would you like your texture size to be, and it'll probably default to 1K, or if I can fix this artifacting, it'll probably default to 512, because that way it's not very intensive at all. And then if people with powerful hardware can bump it up to 248 or 2048 to get this really nice, very, very detailed normal map and effect generation. But that's something I'm going to be messing around with, and I just like having that customization. So that's the reason that I switched over to SVG, is because I can do that, or I can offer that option to players, and it also does fix that weird particle, like white particle thing. I'll change the stone wall as well, because that's a much more visually one. So this is what it looks like at 512. If I bump this all the way up to 2K, it just looks a lot nicer. We get a much more detail. It's super annoying that it's not letting me zoom in very softly, but you just get much finer detail if I bump this back down. Stone wall. This was at 512 by 512. It still looks fine at 512. This is the sort of level of detail that I want to go for. But I don't think stone has been... Well, I actually don't remember if I think I have changed stone. I think I've updated stone. So stone doesn't look like it has that weird artifacting. Maybe it's just a human error thing that's causing that. I'll have to check. I'm not sure if I updated the stone stuff yet. But yeah, I just think it looks much better to have this to allow that customization, and the SVG stuff allows you to scale very cleanly. So we'll do a quick sort of run through of that process. So if I save, I'll minimize Unity, and I can close this because we're done programming for the night. These are all of my wonderful windows that I open up ahead of time so that you guys don't have to see me dig through the Explorer. We're going to go ahead and open up Illustrator. And get my textures. So yeah, the stone walls are good. That means that I probably did make a mistake with the positioning for the castle tiles and all that, which is entirely possible. Just because like I said, I'm not as familiar with Illustrator as I am with Photoshop, which means that there's bound to be human error in there, just as I get used to it. So let's do something that we have not done yet. I've done the carpet. Haven't done the bed. Don't know if I want to do the door because that's going to change. Oh, right, the table. That's what I was going to do. And have I changed that? Is that... Let's see. It is... Oh, details, right. Okay, good. It's 1024. So we're going to make a new document. We'll call it marble table. Table. Custom 1024 by 1024 RGB, all that stuff. All right. So we just start with a new object, and since this is a texture that I already have, I work first by dragging that into the actual artboard, which I'm I got to get used to the new terminology because I'm used to calling it like a canvas. And maybe that's what it is. It still is. I guess the artboard is like the whole thing. I don't know. Like I said, still getting used to it. So this is the original raster texture, and we're basically just gonna. This is a nice, easy one, which is nice. Some of the other ones, like the walls with a lot of divides, those can get. They're not hard, but they're kind of cumbersome, and it's not like Photoshop was a lot nicer in some areas than Illustrator is, because with Illustrator, if you have if you have anything that spills off of the canvas, it doesn't just vanish. It's still there, just floating in space. Now that didn't get exported with the file. At least I don't think so. It might because it's an SVG. But with Photoshop, what you saw in that square in the canvas is what you exported, and that's what you still export. But it's still kind of weird. I did learn that if you export an SVG, the way that Substance Designer detects it, even if you have a layer turned off. So in Photoshop, you could export a PNG, and before, I guess I can just show you. I had like a normal layer, a height layer, and a whole bunch of different layers. So if I open up just a regular curtain.psd. So we have the base, the height, and the normal, and all that stuff. So all I would have to do is I would just turn off these layers and then save them as PNGs one at a time. So I would save this as the base layer, I'd save this as the height, and then I would save that as the normal. I can't do that with SVGs because Substance Designer, even if, say, the height layer was turned off, it will still pick up the height layer and render it. So that for a while, anytime I had a mask, which is just a black and white image for the most part, I was exporting SVGs that should be in color, and Substance would pick it up as a black and white image, which was really annoying. It took me a little bit to figure out that was the problem. So I have to save the... It's also a little annoying because it's not like Photoshop where if you do a save as and export a PNG, you still have your original file open, the PSD file. With After Effects, or with Illustrator, when you save as an SVG, that SVG replaces the current file. You still have the old file, but it's not open anymore. So you have to open the old file, delete the other layer that you were working from, and yeah, I'll just show you that. It's kind of a weird process. But, the end result is it's a lot nicer. It's a lot more scalable. So we'll call this marble table. Do some sublayers. So we got background, and a text, and I don't have divides actually, so I can just add a new layer. Call this base, and then call this mask. So I don't have a height mask anymore. Or a height map anymore. I don't really need one because now instead of having normal or a base color, a normal, and a mask, now I only need the mask and the color because I use the actual color to create the normal in Substance, which is a little weird, and I haven't run into any real issues with it, but I get the feeling that down the road I might have to change and figure out a better solution for normals. But otherwise, I'm not too worried right now, really, because I basically just convert this image into a grayscale image for the normal, which is what I think the original one was doing anyway. It was just taking the grayscaled version and making a normal from it. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna move these two into the base. So we'll start with a background, which is going to be a shape. I do not want any outline, and I want it to be black, because that's what this is. So go up to anchor, 1024 by 1024. Make sure that all of that stuff is correct. Good. That's my background. Turn it off, because I still need to match up all this other stuff. Then we'll go to text. Change the color to white so that I can more easily see it. Make sure that doesn't change as well. Okay, so change our text or our font to Commodore 64, which is what we were using before, and change our file size probably to 72. That's probably not big enough actually. It's not. I'm assuming this is then 120 probably. That might be right. And it went back to black. I also need to change the kerning to be negative 100. And it goes back to... No, it doesn't. That was the highlighting. I've had some weird... I guess it's probably not negative 100. It's probably like negative 75. I've had some very strange things happen where if I change the kerning or the spacing or the color on text objects. Sometimes they like slam back into weird spacing. It's annoying. And like I said, that's probably just me getting used to Illustrator. So that's more or less where it was before, which is nice. Okay. So with that, well, no, I won't change the color later. I'll do that now. Double click on that. Oh wait, no, cancel. I lied. Change this, and of course, select it. There we go. So, oh man, still getting used to the shortcuts because they change things around. I'm used to hitting M to marquee things as soon as I'm done, and M is the shape tool in this. So we can go back here and start with. Why does it default to black? Just to spite me. Just to spite me. Okay. Table. You can see that the kerning is slightly off. It's very slightly different from Photoshop. Not enough that I'm going to need to re-UV anything, I don't think, unless I'm doing really fine detail. But it's still kind of annoying. So we'll just leave that as is. Go back to text. I swear to God, if it changes to black again, why does it always change to black? It just always changes to black. It's really annoying. Bottom. Ugh. Gotta really fine-tune things here. Kind of tough. See, I wonder if I did this. No, it goes right back to black anyway. Okay. Every time. There's got to be an option to fix that. Foot. That's fine. And then one more, which is, again, the wrong color. All right. Ugh. I hate that I have to click on everything. Shortcuts. In Photoshop, it was still kind of weird when you were typing. You weren't actually done typing until you clicked off of it. But in Illustrator, you're not done until until you've actually like selected off of it and manually clicked off. It's kind of annoying. So we got to change our height. Probably 72. No, probably more like 96. That looks about right. Let's go back here. So that's more or less where it was before. So that's all of our text stuff. We turn this on. So the kerning's slightly different. Not terribly slow, or not terribly so. So I probably don't need to change anything UV-wise, which means that I can delete the... Nope, don't want to do that. Gotta actually hit the delete key, or hit the trash can icon. So that's our base color. And now, oh, I also should save this. That would probably be good. Save that out. And all that, that's fine. So now that we have that, we need to make a mask for... Well, actually, let me open up the substance file for it. I don't remember if this had a mask for its text or not. I don't think it did. Probably end up making a new substance anyway. We'll call it marble table. We want, and in this case, it's relative to parent, which I think I've covered before, but that was using the raster stuff. So relative to parent as well allows me to change its size at runtime. And then let me go back here to my substance files. I have castle table.sbs. Okay. So it was using... Oh, right, I forgot I did that. Okay, so no, it doesn't have any... it doesn't have a normal... Or it doesn't have a mask, which is nice. That makes it easy on me. So I don't even need a mask for this at all. I just need the base texture. So I can save this, and then save it out as a SVG. Save that, and hit OK. I can go back here, and I'm actually just gonna... Yeah, I'm just gonna delete this, and I'm just gonna use the old one. So let me open up Castle, go over to Illustrator, and I have marble table.svg. Just want to link that. If I pull it in, it'll be 256 by 2. Ooh, dear. No, that's... oh, I forgot. I was wondering. So, and this is what I was talking about, where it opens up the SVG file instead of the original one. So, when you export this, Substance Designer cannot pick up and interpret fonts correctly. So before you actually export it, or before I export it, you actually have to go to Select All, make sure everything's selected, and then... Oh, crap. Hold on. No, that's correct. Okay. There is some weirdness sometimes of the background not being moved and positioned properly, normally because there's strokes that are still there. And it looks like it's just slightly off, but I think that might just be me. So go to Select All. That's going to select everything, and then you go to Type. Yeah, apparently Twitch is dropping frames, which is not good. Okay, anyway. I'm going to go to Create Outlines. So now, instead of being dynamic fonts, these are outlines of the fonts, or of the text. So now I can save that. And actually, I probably should have... No, yeah, I still got to get my sort of process down. I probably should save these out as... I should have a AI file, .ai file that's the raw dynamic text, and then save that out as a new one when it's ready for export. But for now, I'm going to save this as SVG. Yes, that's all fine. Okay. So now, if I minimize this and I relink this, now it's actually correct, which is good. So if we drag this back in here, all it looks like I'm going to have to do here is position this, hit D. So this is the old one. I'm going to drag this to where that is. That's fine. And then add a grayscale conversion for this. And then add a normal for this. And then replace the existing normal down here with that. I'm going to change this to OpenGL. Make sure that this is OpenGL as well, because I want to make sure that all of my stuff is using OpenGL. And then I can delete these. Dock that. And I can drag this to where the old one was, right there. So I can also update these. Move this here. So this was actually a really nice and simple texture to do, which is probably just as well. Although I still get that sort of soft-edged look. I wonder if that's because the normals are off. Maybe the normal generation. Yeah, it looks like it's kind of doing this weird... I don't know. Maybe the normal map sort of conversion for Substance Designer isn't that great, but well, for now. So all this stuff is out. I'm not using. Oh, apparently, I did have a mask, but I wasn't using it for anything. At least I hope not. No, I was just combining these. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know then. So I can actually get rid of the original files because all I need is that SVG. So I can save that and make sure that I update these things. So they are base rough, base metallic, and scratches amount. That's good. That's what I want. I want sliders for all of those. Okay, so that's ready to go. So if I export this as castle table, I will update this actually to, I change this to marble table. Because I could conceivably reuse this later. It's not necessarily exclusive to the castle. Can I rename this? Or do I have to? Well, it's fine. Call this marble table, not marble. Marble table. .spsir. Save that out. All of that should be customizable now, which is great. And now we go back to Unity. We go back to substance, and we want to marble table. Copy that over. All right. There we go. So now we have a marble table. Nice, shiny, and so we're going to do a couple of things with this. We're actually going to duplicate the table in here. I had to set up the stuff for it. So that's the old. Duplicate that. Slide this over here. It's going to be kind of tough to see everything, but so this table is going to be using marble table. So it's largely the same. There's no awkward shifts or anything, which is nice. We're gonna adjust this so that you can see everything. So, and here's what I was talking about. You can sort of see that the SVG is a little softer, which I'm not crazy about. It's really blurry. And that might change, though, when I update this. 1024, 1024. That's a little better. But at the same time, it also is not nearly as well defined as the raster stuff. So you can see, well, actually, let me sort of cheat and slide this over here, and then turn off table 1. Yeah, okay. Maybe it's just because the light wasn't bouncing off of it. That's not that bad then. I'm always just easily impressed with. Although I think the normals are going the wrong way, which is always frustrating. Anyway, so if I move this, oh, don't want to move that. I want to move this. I might also cheat and turn off. All of this. Oh, and I got to turn off the ceiling. Well, actually, no, I don't, because it's not casting a shadow. So now we'll be more easily able to see sort of the comparisons of things. So move this a little bit down. Okay. So, of course, it's off. So the top is the original, and the bottom is the new SVG workflow. So we are going to. Oh, also I need to, I think, update the metallic values. Or are they fine? Base metallic scratches amount. That's all fine, I think. Just to be safe, I'm going to go to castle table. It's a 250, not 150, so I'll change this to 250. Okay, so now they're even more alike than before. So it's still kind of. I don't really like those scratches. They're very, very pixely. Oof. It's a little rough. That's true on the original one as well. Um, so not too much of a difference. A lot of it is just for scalability. The normals on the original are a little different. That's also probably because they were using DirectX, not OpenGL. So they're a little wonky comparatively. But the scratches and all this, these should all be the exact same now. And if I change the marble table to 2K, pixelation isn't nearly as bad. Still kind of pretty bad though. But I guess it really comes down to what it looks like when I'm playing the game. And I'm not sure if Castle. I think Castle Table is scalable too, but it might have soft sort of. It's not too different really. Although the normals on the SVG I think are actually going the right way now. Meh. So this was probably a bad example to show the differences. But the actual file size, I'm curious, is probably a little smaller. So Castle Table is 23 kilobytes, while Marble Table is a whopping 5 kilobytes. So doesn't seem like much. It's 15 kilobytes, but over the course of the game, hundreds of materials. That's going to add up to eventually a couple of megabytes, maybe. Potentially even more. And the SVGs do scale a little more cleanly. You do get this. You can see the pixelation starting to occur here, but the SVG does not have that. Yeah. So it's a mix of things. It's some disadvantages to raster base where it's not quite as hard edged, but it is a lot nicer for scaling. And with that, I was going to do something else. I will also go ahead and just move this. I'm going to come see what they look like in the game. Oh, I will maximize on play. All right, I should have spawned closer. But at least I have sprinting. Right. Yeah, the pixelation isn't terrible. It is noticeable. Maybe a little less so from the SVGs. Actually, pretty significantly less so in the SVGs, I think. So that's raster. That's SVG. They're about the same, but SVG is a little cleaner, I think. This is the side, like that. Try to jump up on here. Looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice, but it does have that pixelation going on. And part of that could be the normal map. I'm not sure. That's the nice thing about generating the normal map from the color SVG, is that it scales cleanly with it, so I don't have to worry too much about it. But yeah, on the whole, I'd say that the SVG is a little bit better. It is a couple of extra steps, but you know, like I said, the customizability of it is really nice. Here's my best thing here. I guess I can also show you the bookshelf now that it has light getting cast on it, although not on the actual books themselves, of course, because I'm not that lucky. Um, yeah, that's been updated. It's got a little bit of a nicer texture to it. Kinda was a little lazy on the back there, but not like you can ever see that. So, yeah, that's the new art pipeline. It's a little wonky, but greater customizability for the player. I think that's a better deal. So, um, yep, I think that'll wrap it up for today. Kept you a little longer than usual. Um, so we can stop playing, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete table 1 and make table 2, or the original table, use the marble table. Although actually, oh, you know what? I think marble table. Right, the ANSI level is also off on this. I might. That didn't change much. Ooh. Hmm. Yeah, that might not be good actually, because it looks like. So this is the normal being generated for the SVG stuff, and it is the text is much less outlined, um, which also is this. Let's use more. But at the same time, it's still okay, I think. I might just need to tweak the intensity of it a bit. But yeah, sorry, got a little distracted there. So yeah, that's the new art pipeline. I'm still experimenting with that as I'm making this or remaking this first level, um, and hopefully it'll be a little easier to use in the future, a little nicer for people to end up using, and a little less intensive on people's computers. Hopefully, not entirely sure, honestly. I think substances by design are a little more intensive, but um, they're not. I'm not doing anything overly complex with my substances, so it shouldn't be that bad. Um, and of course, once I get camera culling set up, it won't be bad at all. I don't think. But for now, that'll be it. I think for today. So thank you very much for watching, and tune in next week to see more cool stuff and more custom content creation tools being made.